Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan, and there's one thing I do love about mods is that they tend to flesh out the factions. Factions like Kislev and Cafe right now are suffering due to lack of content. I imagine that these factions will get fleshed out over the years to come if Warhammer receives the support it so desperately needs and deserves, but until then there's just a few things that need to be done to certain factions just to make them more in line with, well, every other faction that's had 2, 3, or maybe 4 different content packs. This could be FLC or even DLC. And in this video I'm going to do a bit of a collection regarding Kislev mods to give you that definitive Kislev experience. While a lot of Kislev has been changed in terms of lore and aesthetic due to Games Workshop changing around Kislev for the eventual release of Warhammer the Old World, that doesn't mean that all the sources can't be used to fix some things around and add some new content. One of which you've already been able to see on screen, the introduction of the lore of Hags and also the form of the Ancient Widow, which is going to give you a really cool vibe for your Kislevite Ungouls. This is from a mod which I find to be one of the most essential mods if you're going to be playing Kislev, known as the Motherland, which not only fixes up this is a recent addition to the mod, we've covered it in the past, but also fixes up some other things like cosmetically or just functionality. One of the changes is obviously the addition of an ice sled to Catherine, something that we know is deeply embedded into her lore, but she never really had a model of it, so they had no real reference for it too. Or changing up the Griffin Legion to look more like the original miniatures in terms of paint scheme, but still keeping the new and now official aesthetic of Kislev. I think this is a quite important thing because what it does is it merges the world that we knew from the 6th edition, but also now for the coming editions of Warhammer the Old World. Who knows when that is? Or something as simple as renaming the Tsar Guard to the Chrome Guard, which is what they used to be called, and giving them a new unit version, so, you know, a new weapon variant. It's just something that was there in Kislevite lore before, which is a shame that is not really being explored nowadays, and I'm imagining that's more to do with Games Workshop than it is Creative Assembly. Going into some deeper lore from not only 6th edition, but maybe the RPG books, or even Mordheim sometimes, can also flesh out certain things and give you more of a feeling of completionism. The problem with Cafe and Kislev, for example, is since that they're the newest races, they're always going to feel like they're missing out until they get a decent number of content drops. And one of the most important things is giving visual variety, just to make sure that you don't burn out with the same thing over and over. The perfect example here is the light war sleds being changed to Oblast sleds, where instead of having loads of ice and bears, they've got horses, because a bear doesn't really count as a light mount, and the idea is to, once again, have some variety, give you a different bit of feel, and just allow you to immerse yourself more as a faction that is growing over time, because if you get bears early on, you're already feeling that you're already on the strongest point, don't you? And also with the Motherland, we've seen the change of name from Mother Ostankya to Baba Ostankya, minor thing, but it's kind of nice, with Mother Ostankya also having access to the lore of Hags. Again, theming very, very important, especially for a character which we know next to nothing about, and didn't really get that much time in the spotlight, let's be honest there. But why not continue and look towards some other mods to complement this? So next we have Dead's Kislev Shaman Lord, and what this does is gives you a spellcaster with either the Lore of Life or the Lore of Beasts, and the idea is to give you an Ungol character. While some people might say that this might not be lore-friendly, it actually falls in the fine line between lore-friendly and not. First up, we have to take into account that the lore has changed for Kislev. We know that now Kislev has access to other laws of magic, like, for example, the Lore of Beasts. So it's perfectly possible that we could see some Ungol Shaman practitioners. Also, way back in the day during the whole persecution of magic users, which I believe the modder also points out, a lot of spellcasters fled from the Empire to Kislev, so that magical gene pool would still be in Kislev. And keeping with the Kislev fashion, you know, Warhorse and Warbear. We also have a hero character, which adds into a little bit more Ungol flavor. And this mod is once again by Dead Baron, known as Dead's Kislev Droyashka. I have probably butchered that pronunciation incredibly badly. But this is a melee focus hero, something that Kislev actually does kind of need. It's not focusing on being like a patriarch, it's something completely different. In a kind of Empire Captain-esque situation, it does a lot of damage in melee. Obviously, you're fighting with two different sabers. It's able to buff itself up and be quite a good frontline hero, also having access to war horses and war bears, so still keeping to the theme of Kislev, where everyone gets a bear apparently. I'm not too sure why this is a thing, but yeah. Games Workshop changed the lore and now everyone gets bears. But they do look really, really cool. I love the design of the hero. It's obviously very centered around a... Honestly, I'm not too sure. I think it's actually based on a Mordheim model. I've got to ask Dead Baron because it gives me real big Mordheim vibes from way back in the day. It could just be me losing my mind at this point. So they are all split out for your construction tab. You can see that the Incarnate Elemental is where you can find other units too, because this is not the only stuff that we're going to be talking about. We've also got two mods from Calm and Normal Time, which is the Frostfiend and the Crows and Ravens for Ostankya. Everything else from the Motherland can be found where it's supposed to be, and a lot of these units are interchangeable between the Kislevite factions. Now, the Crows and the Ravens stuff is one of the cooler mods, because I don't like bats with Ostankya. It just feels like it's way too much from taking from Droyashka, and obviously a lot of the bats have been seen with the vampires too, so it's kind of cool to have something completely different. Love the models too, because it does take advantage of, well, the Onyx Crowmen and just changing that stuff around. So if you've got a campaign that you want to do where you're just going to be reciting Edgar Allan Poe for some reason, there you go. The Crows look good too. It adds for a different thing. I mean, the bats just look odd considering Kislev and witches and so on. Bats kind of fit, but it's just cooler to have this. It doesn't replace the spiders, so you still have the spiders there, which still feel very thematic. And obviously, you know, they're not going to be the best units. They're not going to be something that you're going to be using fairly often. But early campaign, yeah, definitely a unit for you. I don't know about you, but when I've been playing as Ostankya, I try to focus to go to Kislev as fast as possible so I can actually start recruiting the gunpowder units and so on. Because, again, you know, it's just odd to use a lot of spiders and so on. Really, what we should have been getting is Ungols, but you never know for the future. I very much believe that we'll get another Kislev DLC in the future too. And for the last mod, again by Calm and Normal Time, we have the Frostfiend. This is something that I was actually expecting in future content for Kislev, as this is something that's mentioned in lore and actually makes a lot more sense than, say, for example... I just don't like the Incarnate, I'll be very honest with you. It doesn't fit, it's not known historically for Kislev. Lore might have changed, and I do believe this is a Games Workshop issue, which obviously would naturally affect Total War 2. But yeah, the Frostfiend is a giant flying monster. It looks really, really cool using animations and assets, I guess, from the... Terrorgeist, I think, is those wings, and then the Varghoof for like the main body, then changed around a little bit. It's amazing what modders can do in terms of kit bashing. It just adds to a lot of flavor, and just in general, it looks absolutely amazing. And I honestly really think that if you guys want a real Kislev experience, if you want to have it closer to the original lore, and just in general, a little bit fleshed out, let's be honest, Kislev does need a little bit of help. This stuff is going to give you that feeling. This stuff is going to give you that campaign. I've been playing with it a little bit myself, and yeah, it is really, really good. Mostly with Catherine, though. I don't like to play too much with Ostankya. I still can't really get into her, but that's just me personally. But yeah, all the mods can be found in the description below. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Start a bit of a discussion, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.